Welcome back. I hope you've had a chance to open house prizes. Now, at this point, we're going to start manipulating the data set. And you can pause and switch between the Camtasia video and your data set, which I've seen many students do effectively. Some people use Alt Tab, some people just like to click with the mouse. So pause the video, do the next step, pause the video, kind of figure out what works best for you in terms of actually practicing some of the functionality that I'm going to present. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is save this file as a different name. And all I'm going to do is add a V2 to the house prices file name and save on my desktop in my documents folder. And the idea here is now is my first rendition version manipulating the original file. If this was your own data, you may not want to write over the raw data and keep track of different changes and major changes as you go. Second thing I'm going to do, and I may change this back and forth, is down in the lower right corner, I'm going to make the screen size a little bit smaller to give us some room to work with. And that I can increase that and decrease that. And I'll try not to move too quickly as I do. The third thing that I'm going to manipulate is the fact that I've got 39 houses here, and I really don't want to lose the titles of those columns as I scroll down, so it's easier to see what is what. So what I'm going to do is use a feature called View Freeze Panes. Now, when you do that, just click on View and Freeze Panes, and this will work for all different versions of Excel. The newer ones have much more advanced features with this, but all I'm going to do is say just freeze panes. Obviously, there are more options, and I encourage you to play with the different options, but perhaps later on after you get more comfortable. Now here, I've used cell C2 as my focal point, such that when I scroll down, I always have that title row in row 1, but I can now see other data elements lower in the data set. I've also set it up so that as I scroll to the right, and notice I'm using arrow keys and I'm using the roller bar. Um, some laptops don't have convenient arrow keys. Some people have different kinds of mice, pointing devices or glide pads. Here, I've now scrolled off to the right, but I can see, you know, more of the data or less of the data as the case may be. So now we've got some things set up, and maybe I'll update my V2 because I like what I've got. So the next thing I want to do is just think about organizing my data a little bit better. For example, the houses are listed in somewhat of a random order. It might be more convenient if I'm interested in purchasing a house to see things within a list of prices sorted lowest to highest. And one other thing that I tend to do is have a column from 1 to n, where n is the sample size or the number of rows of data, such that if I wanted to put it back in the original order, I could just sort on the home column, which we'll probably do at the end. So first pass, I anchor or position my pointer in cell B2, and I go up to data and sort. There's some shortcut keys as well, and I'll leave that up to you to learn the shortcuts. Not all shortcuts work the same ways, but usually the main functional command works nicely. So I click on data sort, and it gives me a sort by, and here, notice a key part there. My data has headers. That is checked. So that means when I drop down here, I see the header descriptors just as they're listed. If I were to uncheck that, when I drop down, I only see column. It'll work just as well, other than it's probably easier because even in this fairly small data set, we have 8 or 9 variables to work from. So now we've got data set here with the headers. You probably want to sort on price from smallest to largest. Once you get all those information put in, click OK, and there you go. Everything is sorted nicely. Now, as we mentioned before, depending on the size of your family, you may be interested in a certain number of bedrooms. So you could sort with more specificity. So if I go back to data sort, change my primary level to the number of bedrooms, add a secondary level for the price, and I'll pause here to make sure you're getting caught up. And we can go several levels deep here. And now when I say OK, it first sorts by the number of bedrooms, so it groups all of the 2-bedroom houses together. Then it sorts by the house number. So you've got the least expensive 2-bedroom house to the most expensive. Then it looks at the 3-bedroom houses, then the 4-bedroom houses, and there are several homes in this area that have 5 bedrooms. And one of the reasons I picked data from this town is because it has a very nice mix of different types of homes. In some communities, you will see very standard types of homes where the term we often use is cookie cutter. And while that's all well and good, there's not much variety or distinction there. All right, so we've sorted our data set a couple of ways. What if we want to get it back into the original order? We can go back to sort. We can delete a level, doesn't matter which one, and then go back to home. And of course, we can sort things largest to smallest and smallest to largest. And there's lots of options. I'm going to try and stay with the most basic options to start with. And now I'm back to sorting it by home. But of course, I encourage you to try different things as you go. And that's the beauty of working with data like this. You can do whatever we want to it. You can always go back to the original home prices and try different things. So now we're back to where we started, sorting and sorting by levels. And I'll even mention, there's opportunities to do filtering, which I won't go into. But filtering allows you to just, we'll try it. If I click on filter and I can drop down here, I can select, let me try that again. Click on filter, you see it has all these little drop down menus. So just as we were interested in bedrooms before, it's now showing all. If I click down, click off, and click on 3 and perhaps 4. I'm only interested in houses that have 3 or 4 bedrooms. And now I click OK. I've narrowed my data set from to just show homes that have 3 or 4 bedrooms. If I click on filter again, it gets rid of that and gets us back to our full data set. So that's basic sorting and filtering, and those are very handy things to do. As I will try and do with each of these little videos, I will save it, and we'll end the video and get ready for the next one.